Welcome to Guitarist TV. My name is Jason J. Rock Houston. We're speaking to my good friend Bull Diego Avello. How you doing today, Bull?
How you doing, sir? Well, it's a sunny day in Texas finally, so I'm okay.
There you go. And so I was curious, are you originally from Texas or where are you originally from?
Well, I'm originally from Spain. I was born and raised in Spain, and I was living most of my life in Spain. I lived 3 years in Mexico, and now it's been 8 years living in Texas.
And I was curious, how old were you when you first learned to speak English? Because you speak it really well.
Well, that's kind of well. I have a very thick accent. So when I was a kid, in Spain, we have a kind of learning English, but it just was the colors and a couple of verbs or things like that. However, I was very into American rock and roll in the 50s, especially, Little Richard, Chuck Berry, Elvis Presley. So I want to know what the people is saying. So I think my ears get used to your accent and your language because the American rock and roll that I was listening.
It's interesting you say that because in prepping for the interview day, I was listening to some of your music, and a lot of it has a real rockabilly kind of vibe to it.
Yeah, the very beginning, I was kind of obsessed with the 50s. Chuck Berry. My first guitar was like a replica imitation of a 335 like Chuck Berry, and I'm still love rockabilly. I'm still a huge fan of Stray Cats and Crazy Cabin from England. But then I'm start listening another kind of music like soul, blues, hard rock.
Yeah, that's interesting because in your music I can hear all of that. Where you think somebody could come from Spain, it would be heavily influenced by Spanish music, and I can also hear that obviously, but it's a little bit of everything, which makes what you're doing really different.
Well, thank you. And we were talking yesterday about that, the impact of American culture has in the world, and especially with rock and roll, it is huge. So a lot of people from America, they don't realize how big is the rock and roll out of the United States. So
I think it's the place, right? Yeah.
It does. It's all over the place, and so even the blues. I mean, you go to Spain, there's people talking about Johnny Hooker, Elmer James, Robert Johnson. The old school guys.
Sure.
And I like British music, and I like Hispanic music too, and flamenco. But since I was a kid, I was very, very attractive for the American rock and roll.
And how much did that have to do with your desire to leave Spain and come to the United States to kind of experience everything you were hearing in those rock and roll songs,
Yeah, it took a while because it's a very long trip. So America, United States always was on my mind. I love my country, don't get me wrong. I'm very proud of my roots and my culture, and is what I'm trying to do is mix both cultures, my heritage, my Spaniard culture with your American culture. So it took a while, and because it is a lot of money, you have to leave your country, you have to leave your family, your comfort zone, your language, and also you need a work visa, which is not easy to. It means I have a work visa, but it was difficult to get it at the beginning. So it took a while, and I had to do a detour. Going to Mexico, which was a great experience too. So yeah, it was a long trip. I took the road less traveled.
Yeah. And the great thing about the kind of music you make, not only is it so different, but I mean you attract the Spanish people. You got Spanish fans, obviously. You got American fans. You got people all around the world, and I see, like, I was doing some research prepping for an interview. Like I said, I see a lot of interviews you've done since you dropped your album. And it's a combination of obviously some of them are in Spanish. You go into Spanish stations, and that's got to be real fun for you because it kind of opens the door to different markets for you.
Oh, totally. It means the thing, I was a little worried when I came to this country because all my albums were in Spanish, and it went pretty well in Mexico, obviously, because they speak Spanish. So, and there's a lot of Hispanic talkers in the United States, but I want to reach the Anglo people too, like English speakers, and I was a little worried about how it's gonna go because my accent, and but then I'm start writing songs in English, and it came out pretty well. I don't want to sound arrogant, but it came out pretty well. So, and I have the both walls, so we we are being airplaying and American radio, like English radio, and also some Hispanic too. And sometimes we play in Hispanic festivals. Sometimes we play for like English speaker festivals. Like,
I mean, it's got like a Texas rock vibe to it, you know, kind of Stevie Ray Vaughan stuff. Style, and that's why I think it appeals to such a wide range of people. And the thing with that is, you know, like when I listen to some of your lyrics, some of them are Spanish, like you said, when you sing some in English, and so there's a little something for everybody. Typically, I'll be honest, I don't listen to stuff, but I can't understand. But the funny story to that is, I was recently interviewing a guitar player from, of all things, a Spanish metal band, and it was interesting because the guy was singing in Spanish, but yet maybe, you know, I was kind of more drawn to the music, even though I couldn't understand what they were saying. It didn't seem to matter for once, you know, because I was just so drawn by the music.
Yeah, rock and roll is a universal language. I know it's a topic, but it is, and put the people together. And think about Rammstein, that band from Germany, that they sing in German. So the energy and the beat and you got it and you like it. So and there's a lot of music within different age. And if you listen French. And French is a beautiful, beautiful language, and doesn't matter if you understand it. The music is touching you. Obviously, you get a different universe when you understand the lyrics. It's
it's just interesting because typically people would think that, okay, if you can't understand what they're singing, you're not going to listen to it. But that was my unique experience with that. I thought, you know what, it doesn't really kind of matter. I'm getting off on the music, and maybe later I can learn the lyrics and what the song's about. But that was a very unique experience for me. And, you know, talking a little bit about how you're into both Spanish culture and American culture and everything. One of your older songs I came across that I was really digging is Bon Scott. Now, what's funny about that song is it does have the vibe of like the Bon Scott attitude. So I don't know if it was that, or I don't know, obviously you're influenced by Bon Scott. So talk about that and writing that song.
Well, I'm a huge fan of AC/DC. Both singers are badass, Brian and Bon. Both are very aggressive, very attitude, but you know, Bon is the ultimate frontman. You know, he had all the elements, so he's definitely on my top 5 singers, and AC/DC too. So when I was writing that album, Animal, that was the last song that I wrote, Bon Scott. So I had that AC/DC riff, that it was totally AC/DC riff, and it sounded too AC/DC. So I didn't want to copy them. But I say, L.A. Lloyd from Rock Radio, he was listening to the song, and I say, maybe we can do a AC/DC tribute, and say, I love Bon Scott, so I'm going to write a song about him. So I never had anyone writing a song about Bon Scott, indeed.
Yeah, I don't think anybody ever has it, and that's what's cool about it. And it has the whole vibe and attitude that Bon Scott had. So you really captured that, I think, you know.
I want to try, and if we put a slide guitar, trying to get a little bit farther from AC/DC sound, but we have the Malcolm and Angus rhythm, and I would love to send that song to Angus John and say, hey, just for fun, no? Like, hey, I wrote this from Bon, and when I play that song, like, especially people our age, and I was playing in Midwest lately, and they love it because you know, those that we like classic rock and roll, we love Bon Scott.
And obviously, being a guitar player, it's not too surprising that all your music is guitar oriented. But I was curious. So, like a lot of people, when you say you started out first as a guitar player, or were you always a singer songwriter as well?
I always was a frontman and a singer. I never, honestly, I play guitar too, but I always have better guitar players than me on the band, taking care of the most difficult parts. I use the guitar most like for writing songs and support the guitar players on when we play in live, so they can do the solos and everything. So I love playing guitar, and I'm sponsored by Epiphone that belongs to Gibson. And but I think I'm more a singer, a songwriter than a guitar player. But I play too.
That's the reason I ask. You know, I know a lot of people start off like maybe playing the guitar and maybe out of necessity because they're writing their own songs. They start learning how to sing, and it kind of morphs into a frontman. But it's interesting you say that, because in listening to the music, I think of you as a songwriter, you know, and the guitar is just part of what you do.
Yeah, that's exactly what and when you can play an instrument,
Yeah.
it's easier to obviously writing songs and telling the people what you're looking for, other guitar players or bass player or even drummer. So yeah, I think it's important to play the instruments, and for the more difficult parts, I always have good guys doing it.
Sure. And then another song I really dug, it's a little older one of yours, is Road Less Traveled. I mean, again, really guitar oriented. It's got a kind of a blues feel to it. And I was just digging that one.
That is actually my favorite song. And it's one of the songs that is a very special song for me because it was the first song that I wrote in English.
Oh, wow.
And it was the first song that I wrote when I came to the United States. So talking about my trip, I took the Road Less Traveled. And I'm a huge fan of ZZ Top. And,
I can hear that. I can hear that.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah,
and definitely living here in Texas, you hear ZZ Top constantly, and Billy Gibbons is around here. He loves to play in Austin. So Yayo Sanchez, that guy that they call him the Kiss guy, that he was playing with Foo Fighters. Okay, he was a guitar player. So I told him, I'm looking for a bluesy song and then turn into rock and roll, Johnny Hooker, ZZ Top vibe, but with more aggressive vocals. And it's my favorite song. It is, I I say that speech at the beginning, talking where I'm from.
Especially being your very first song you wrote in English, no matter what, it's going to have a special place in your heart. And then, and then, did that song chart at all, or like how did people react to that?
The thing with that album that you're talking about, Animal, we didn't have promotion. I didn't have money. I didn't have a record label. I didn't have a management. I didn't have anything. So I knew I needed English album. So we put the album out with zero promotion.
You say that because I realized when I was looking this stuff up, it was kind of from an older album, but I thought we should still mention them because they're just I want people that when they get maybe done hearing this interview, go and check out some of the stuff because it's really good, and I want people to kind of see what came first because after I checked out some of these older songs, I of course went to the current album, and you can definitely see a progression. I mean, a lot of the older stuff to me is it not only does it have a heavy kind of Texas rock blues feel, but it's a lot more blues oriented, and I can definitely hear the rockabilly influence. But a lot of the newer stuff is kind of more. I don't want to say like it's not metal, but it's closer to hard rock. It's closer to more commercial sounding stuff. So maybe you could get it on the radio.
Yeah, and there's everybody that discovered my music always say, yeah, I love that album, Animal. Even my new record label and my management, we want to put that album out again because it has great songs and we didn't do anything with that album. It came out and it has great songs. That album, I wrote it, I would say 95% of the album, I wrote it myself. And so I have like more rockabilly influence and blues. And the new album, the guitar player from Spain, he wrote like a 20-30%, and he has more like hard rock, metal, not metal, but a hard rock.
Yeah, I wouldn't say metal. I would say closer to hard rock.
Yeah, maybe. Closer to hard rock. So and also me. So the new album is definitely more hard rock, and we're having a lot of airplay because. Well, I don't know if the music are commercial or not, but people like it, and we have a.
Well, I guess to my ear, I just hear a definite progression, and it's interesting because I like the older stuff as well, and I think maybe if you were to put some of those songs in the set list, people might, oh, what's that? That's a pretty good song, and it's just a matter of exposing people to stuff. And when I say progression, because the older stuff is just as good, I think it's just you can hear a definite shift in the sound, and I don't know if that was intentional. It's a good shift either way. You know what I mean? It's just you could hear you're growing as a songwriter,
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And another one of the older songs I really loved is 500 Miles. And again, that's, I won't say it's heavy, but it's like heavy blues,
It is another song that is very special for me because 5,000 Miles, the first song that I wrote in English was Road Less Traveled. And then I have to leave the United States for I was working with my visa. I have to go to the embassy, get all the paperwork. So my visa was approved. So I have to stamping on my passport. You know, like so I went to Spain and I spent like 2 or 3 months with my family there while I was waiting for the visa. And I have time to spend with my family. I knew when I leave, it's gonna be for a while.
Yeah.
And then I took the plane from Madrid to Austin, and when we landed, the captain said, "Well, welcome to Austin, Texas. The weather, blah blah." We just made 5,000 miles, and then I realized I was 5,000 miles from my home. And that night, I was sad. I was kind of a little down. To be down for me is a luxury. I can be down. I have to be means I have to be fighting all the time. But anyway, that night I took the guitar and I wrote a song. It is I'm 5,000 miles from you. I was talking about home.
Oh,
it
sure.
Is that's the song is about.
I mean that's got to be quite a relevant realization. Oh wow, I'm 5,000 miles away from my home. And I was curious when you first came to Texas. I mean, you know, I know it's Texas is heavily Hispanic population, but was it that different from Spain? Did it take you a while to adjust to life in Texas?
But it's more Mexican culture here than Spain. Even Texas was founded by the Spaniards, like 400 years ago. Means that, and then the French, and then Mexico, and then the Six Flags. So it doesn't really have a Spaniard heritage. They have a little bit of Spaniard heritage, but it's more like Tex-Mex, Mexican. And Austin is not a very big Hispanic community. We have a Hispanic community here, but it's more like San Antonio. It's more like places like that. So we have both. We have the Texas culture, and definitely we have the Mexican culture too.
Yeah, I guess what I'm asking is, so when you first came here to the United States, did you find it really different from life in Spain? Did it take you a while to adjust?
Well, yes, obviously there is a big difference, but Europe and United States, we have a couple means after living 3 years, I found a way more different between Mexico and United States than Spain and United States in the way that Europe infrastructures and how we work in a kind of way similar like here. There's a lot of different things too, cultural. But that is I found that it was I need to adapt to your culture, to your language, to your traditions, and respect it. And I understand how the Americans think. Everybody thinks different.
Sure. Yeah.
But like as a culture, as a global culture, I need to. I'm still learning.
I mean, it's like if you take somebody that's lived all their life in Texas, and all of a sudden they move to Spain, it's going to be a culture change. It's going to take.
Totally different. And United States is so big, and every state is like a own country, and especially places like Texas, there was his own country in the past. It has a very strong heritage and a very strong personality.
Sure.
The same with California, or same with Florida, or other places that I lived 1 year in California, and it's totally different than Texas.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah. And so that's another thing I want to ask you, Bull. How did you get your nickname, Bull?
Well, I'm a 6'6" guy, and I'm 260 pounds. And when I was a kid, like I told you in the school, we used to learn a little bit of English. So we were learning animals and colors and things like that. So I was the biggest guy in the classroom, and so we were learning the animals, and we were playing like rugby. And one of the guys say, "Hey, you're pushing like a bull," in Spanish, and they start calling me bull.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Wow. And they start calling me bull because we were learning the animals, and since I was 7, 8 years old.
Oh wow, that's fun. And then one song off the current album I know a lot of people are a fan of is Primero de Enero, and there was a video for that. Talk a little bit about that, because again, you can definitely hear it's much closer to hard rock, Texas blues still, but it's a little bit of everything. And I think it's got much more broader appeal. I don't know, and I'm not taking anything away from older material because they're wonderful songs. I think if more people heard those, they say, "Wow, we got to check that out."
Well, Dinero Primero is being a very popular song. It's the song that it has more streams on Spotify and more views on YouTube, and it's on radio. The thing that Dinero Primero means money first. It came with the idea. I had a road manager here in Texas that we were playing close to the border with Mexico. So it was a new guy that it was a friend of mine, a biker, and they say, "Hey man, the only thing that you need to be sure is before to hit the stage, you need to take the money. Don't forget that. That's the rule number one. Rule number one for a booking for a tour manager is money first. So and he say, don't worry. And he say with a very American accent, dinero primero.
So wow, yeah, wow. I love
we
that.
were laughing about it. And he said, okay, I'm gonna write a song about that.
There's a song and everything. See, I mean, that's what a gifted writer does. You can write a song from almost anything.
Yeah, and I like the concept. And then I switched the lyrics a little bit in the way that it's not a materialistic song. It is talking about the reward that musicians sometimes we don't have. And we work super hard. Like you can't imagine how hard it could be months working on stuff and making $0. And then you go to so
it's a working man's song,
Yeah. So I was talking about the reward, and many musicians when you are starting you don't get it, and it's like money first. And definitely it has again some Billy Gibbons, ZZ Top vibe, and the humming. It came from Mississippi blues at the beginning, like a Stone Rock, and the curious about that album, the vocals. It was recorded. I was camping. I think I told you this when we have an interview. Yeah. And I was using a hand recorder to for all my ideas, like my guitar and vocals. So I sent the songs to my guy in Spain. He wrote Sound of the Mars too, and we put it together. So I recorded vocals with a hand recorder on a picnic table. Yes, for but it came out so well, and it has that magic. And so while you're listening in the album, it was recording with a hand recording in a picnic table.
Amazing. Wow. I love that. It's so simple, and you have bands that spend millions of dollars to make a record in a professional studio, and and you did it like that and came out just sounding marvelous.
Yeah. Magic is that means I believe in equipment, but when the magic is there, and the humming, I was camping by the lake. Wow. And we had the song at the beginning. It didn't have the humming. It was just like a drums, boom, chas. So I told the guy, hey, man, I think we need to put something at the beginning. I'm going to hit delay with my kayak, and I have my hand recorder if something. So I was paddling, and then I'm saying,
oh, wow, I love that. Wow.
and the paddling came, and so I took the hand recorder, and I recorded like 5-6 times, and then I sent it to my guy. He was in Spain. This was during the lockdown. So he said, well, it has a lot of noise because the water. So can you record it again? So I recorded again and then I sent it to him. So he used the one that is in the kayak. So believe me or not, people they don't believe it because you listen, it looks like a studio recording. But
talk about the creative process there. Wow. And now I know you have a birthday celebration coming up, a show there in Texas. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, my birthday is actually the same day of the gig. It's February 24th.
Happy birthday in advance.
Thank you, sir. So we're going to be playing here for my birthday in a place called the Hot Spot here in Austin, Texas, Cedar Park. And Shelly Knight is a rock and roller from Austin. She's going to be in the guest band. Okay. And besides that, my gig, my birthday, we're going to play in Corpus Christi on the 24th and San Antonio on the 25th, the next day. So this is a small tour. Yeah. The LA Lloyd Rock Theory radio station syndicated are hosting. So he's promoting all this, and he's the guy that is doing this tour.
And then final question. I know you're still kind of working on to promote the last album, but are you thinking about the next release? Have been working on writing any tunes?
We were thinking about it. Like definitely want to put something out again this year. Maybe a single, maybe a EP. I don't see a full album because these days it's more like a releasing singles or EPs, 3-4 songs. I think by the end of summer, when we finish the promotion of this EP, we will put something out with a cool video. I don't know exactly what or when, but definitely we will do something this year.
Like you think better to release like a single at a time or an EP?
Yeah. Yes, because an album takes a lot of time, energy, money, and most of the people there are about singles, like in the 50s.
And you're lucky when people go on your YouTube page if they even play the song all the way through.
That's it. So unless you have like a super badass album that every song is a single, which I believe Animal is, and I believe the new EP too, but I'm more like focusing 3 songs, 4 songs, and then put all the energy, all the budget, and all the attention and release it like that.
I think it's kind of
Instead of
working for you because, you know, with the last album, I think more people know who you are now than maybe the previous album, and that's not a bad thing, you know.
Yeah, that's definitely.
Well, I'd like to thank you taking time out of your busy schedule to do this. I think the interview came out great. Let's do it again and keep in touch. And I'll be talking to the interview with just did. I'm going to probably be posting next week. I'll let you know the minute it goes up. So thanks, my friend. You take care. Okay.
No, thank you so much for your support and long live to rock and roll.
Yeah, with great singer-songwriters like you, there'll be more.
Yeah, and like you're part of this.
Well, we
thank
try
you, sir. Take care.
Spread the love. Bye-bye.